up for HelloFresh. We'll give you 46 meals free. Come on, we're desperate as hell. 46 meals. Okay, you and a friend, 92 meals free. Put a lit cigarette out anywhere in my body. Go ahead. Take a shit in my mouth. Take a shit in my open mouth. Please sign up for HelloFresh. Call me a pig. I'll oink for you. Is that what you want to hear? Spread honey on my nuts and let the bees have me. We'll come over and cook it for you. Right? It goes against everything we stand for. That's how bad things have gotten. Turns out people only want to do HelloFresh once, not 5 times a week like it's their job. We paid every podcast host in the world to tell you we're good, and it still didn't work.
Let's have a quick word from our sponsor so that we can dive right into the case. And today's sponsor is HelloFresh.
Interrupting our regularly scheduled video to thank today's sponsor, which is HelloFresh.
Make mealtime easy with delicious recipes made with fresh, wholesome ingredients delivered to your door. No lines, no hassle, just great tasting meals that you can whip up and enjoy in the comfort of your home. HelloFresh.
Before we get into today's story, we do have a sponsor, so let's take a moment for that. Just popping in here really quick for a word from our sponsor, HelloFresh.
We've all seen the HelloFresh ads from our favorite creators. These sometimes delicious looking meals that you can make in the comfort of your own home, and all of the ingredients and recipes are delivered straight to your door. These content creators may share dollar amounts of how it's less expensive to order HelloFresh meals as opposed to going out to eat. Another selling point is that you don't have leftover ingredients. For example, if you go to the grocery store and you only need 1 carrot, but all they have are bags of carrots, then you have extra carrots that you may or may not eat, which means HelloFresh should be cutting down on waste. I remember the first time I heard about HelloFresh, I did want to test it out, but it wasn't until one of my favorite content creators at the time had a discount code that I did go ahead and try it. Some negative reviews have stated that they didn't receive all of the ingredients, or they received ingredients that have gone bad. Then there is the alleged mistreatment of employees that also comes into play. Is HelloFresh really all it's hyped up to be, or is it just yet another unethical company? That's what I'll be discussing today. Today we'll be discussing HelloFresh from the information that I had available to me. Just FYI, I'm not a journalist, nor am I presenting anything in this video as a fact, so please go ahead and do more research on your own time. I will be adding in my own opinions because I actually have used the HelloFresh service. I do have mixed feelings on the service itself, but I'll get into my testimonial a little bit later. One thing that I remembered when I was researching for this video was a few years ago, Alonda from the channel The Recovering Humbot told me that her HelloFresh box came with flyers for an MLM company. If you don't know Alonda, she is an anti-multi-level marketing activist, but specifically is talking about OnPassive at the current time of me filming this video. I was disappointed to hear of HelloFresh having flyers for a multi-level marketing company. However, since it was a flyer, I'm assuming, now don't quote me on this, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm assuming that it's kind of how when an MLM company buys ad space in a magazine and then the reps talk about how the MLM company was featured in a very well-known magazine. Mon 8 reps, I'm looking at y'all. Anyway, I came across this video by Fab Socialism, and I just had to look into this on my own and talk about it. I really wanted to film this video with me on screen at certain points, but unfortunately that is not going to be the case for this video, so I am going to have to go ahead and do a whole voiceover, so I do apologize for that. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into it. So what is HelloFresh? According to The Guardian, they said, quote, HelloFresh has operations in 14 other countries, including the US, UK, and Australia, and employs over 11,800 people worldwide, preparing ingredients for delivery for home-cooked meals including brown sugar, bourbon, apple, pork chops, and kale, cranberry, and walnut-stuffed squash, end quote. Meal kit delivery services have become pretty popular, and I can definitely see the appeal. I mean, I did try it too. It can be fun because you get to learn how to make meals you may have never tried making before. It's also so easy and convenient because the ingredients, which are already pre-portioned, and recipes are delivered straight to your door. Less or maybe even no trips, well, maybe not for everybody. The negative reviews say otherwise. However, just for the sake of this part of the video. We'll just say less or no trips to the grocery store and having to deal with people who decide to park their cart right in the walkway and don't move it, even when you say, excuse me, then they look at you with disgust when you move their cart out of the way on your own. Yes, I may have sounded a little not nice in that portion, but that literally just happened to me the other day. But anyway, I know I'm starting to sound a little bit like I'm doing an ad read for HelloFresh, but I think some of us can agree. I know not everybody's going to agree with this, but at least for me, I can definitely see the appeal, especially because you're not wasting food, as I stated in the intro of this video. As most people know, HelloFresh isn't the only meal delivery kit service, but it is arguably the most popular one. HelloFresh is a delivery subscription box that delivers weekly. The amount of meals will be dependent on what you choose, obviously, but each week they rotate the recipes so you can try something new every week. You can also choose the serving sizes, which is 2 to 4 serving sizes. The website will give you an estimate on how long it will take to make on average. Some meals will even say things like easy cleanup or easy prep, which is great if you're someone who is looking for recipes that shouldn't take too long to make. The boxes will deliver with freezer packs, so you don't have to worry about your food going bad if the box sits outside for a little bit. When it comes to HelloFresh, they do have somewhat healthier options, and they provide the nutritional facts for the meals that have lower calories, which is great if you're looking to be in a calorie deficit. Although they don't have options for different dietary needs, for example, keto, vegan, paleo, etc. I'm sure the customer can look at the meals and figure out if it falls under their specific dietary needs. When I did keto a long time ago, I did it for medical purposes. I was monitored by my doctor and everything like that. So I will say, for anyone who is going to come at me and say anything, yes, it was done the proper way. However, when I did do that, I was able to kind of take a look at meals. I made my own meals, but I could take a look at things and see if it was okay for the diet. So I'm sure that some people who also do things like paleo or vegan or whatever other diet they're doing, they can go ahead and look at these meals and see if maybe they can themselves substitute something, and maybe it still will be worth the meal kit delivery service to still get that meal and just kind of substitute certain things for it. As for pricing, it obviously differs for the amount of servings and meals that you're going to want to purchase. But just from clicking around, I'll use this one example that I screenshotted December 31st of 2023. I'm only saying that in case some people watch this video a few years down the line and they try to come at me and say that the price isn't what I said in the video. So that's why I'm giving you the exact date and everything. But it doesn't matter what preferences you really click, they're all the same price. Or if you click all of them, it doesn't change pricing. So I decided to put it in for 4 servings and 4 meals a week. The price per serving on this page, it says that each meal for 4 people should come out to $9.99. But after the first total altogether, the price per serving is a little under $11. So with that said, yes, it can be less than takeout, and the meals are actually pretty tasty in my opinion. Not all of them, but some of them. But for some people, they need to find even less expensive options. I'm not saying that the meal kit delivery service is incredibly expensive, because takeout and restaurants are usually more, but people can get creative with how they save money, especially if they're into couponing or if they are on a budget. Something to keep in mind though is that this price is also on top of your normal grocery shopping for all of your other meals, which is why I do think that it depends on your financial situation. The argument of if it's worth it financially in this case, I would say, is kind of subjective. Maybe not 100%, but it is, because for some people this is affordable and they'll say how it's actually a really great price, while others will say that it's too expensive. So I do want to say that it really all depends on your financial situation. On the HelloFresh website, their About Us talks about how their ingredients are fresh and sustainable. They stated also that they reduce the customer's carbon footprint by 31% compared to cooking with ingredients from a supermarket, which I think is great. There is one section that says how we got here, and that section states the following. Quote, "Our founders Dominic and Thomas spent afternoons packing pre-portioned recipe ingredients for their community. Their purpose? to test a new way to get home-cooked meals on tables around the world. Little by little, their experiment became a real business that changed the way people eat. With love and dedication, HelloFresh went from a small homegrown project to a meal kit service spanning 18 countries and over 1 billion meals, the biggest in the world. But despite its immense success, our philosophy remains the same: to make it easy for everyone to prepare a delicious home-cooked meal for them and their loved ones. End quote. I find that portion of the website, I guess you can kind of say, a little interesting, given that I know about all the other bad stuff about HelloFresh, but we will get into that later on in this video. However, I hope that this brief overview gives you kind of an idea of what HelloFresh is, in case you maybe didn't know what HelloFresh was. I'm sure some of y'all would love to hear about some reviews, so let's go ahead and get into that portion. Of course, you're going to see positive and negative reviews or testimonials when it comes to any company. Sometimes you see more negative as opposed to positive, and vice versa. I did go ahead and turn to Reddit for some testimonials because there was a good mix of reviews. I felt that it's only fair to present all types of reviews. So let's go ahead and go over a few now. On this Reddit thread, the original poster said, "Is HelloFresh worth it? Is the food good? Does it actually save you money?" So the first comment that I see here, it says, "It's cheaper than eating out for every meal, but I find most of its value comes from not having to worry about looking up recipes and grocery shopping every week. The food is always delicious." Someone else said, "This is a large part of it for me, not having to plan meals and purchase groceries. It also helps me to not buy vegetables and food I wind up letting rot in the fridge because I never get around to making something with them." And the impact of having variety to get yourself out of a rut cannot be overstated. I had stopped HelloFresh for about a year and re-upped it recently when I realized I kept making the same few meals every week and just wanted some more variety. Another person said, "In addition to eating out a lot before HelloFresh, I'd have a bad habit of going to the grocery store, having not planned any meals or recipes, and as a result, grabbing a bunch of convenience foods and stuff from the frozen aisle, which usually isn't cheap either and certainly not quality or healthy." Another person writes, "If you're a college student looking to save some dollars, I don't recommend it. The target group, in my opinion, are working adults who are bottlenecked by time more than anything. They don't want to think about the trip to the grocery, don't want to think about which recipe on the day to grab ingredients for, and don't want to spend time looking online or in cookbooks for new recipes to make. Not even mentioning the extra time grocery shopping. If you are generally lower income, I would suggest going on a more simple and stable plan of staple foods, rice, cheap proteins, etc. If you are confident in cooking already and don't mind going shopping and looking up new recipes, I would only suggest a few weeks just to get a feel of the recipes you like and if there are any novel techniques to take. Otherwise, everyone else in between, I think signing up for the few discounted boxes just to see if you enjoy the flow of receiving boxes and cooking is right for you." Basically, long-winded way of saying personally, it's not the best way to save money usually, but for many people with wiggle room in their budget, it's the best way to save time. Now that I shared some more positive reviews, let's go ahead and talk about some negative reviews because let me tell you, there are quite a number of them. This person asked, "What happened to HelloFresh? I was thinking about getting boxes again in the near future, but now I'm thinking not, because while half the posts look delicious, the other half I see talk about spoiled incorrect ingredients or inadequate ingredient portions to complete the recipe, while I also see a lot of bad customer service and delivery times. What happened? Did ownership change? New food distributors? Like, why has the company gone so downhill? I've actually changed my mind about purchasing boxes again because of these posts. I mean, if anything, the recipe cards are free online. I can make it myself." A response to this says, "I've been getting HelloFresh since last year, and in my experience, the quality has definitely gone down. I had no problems for months with spoiled or small food. Then, since the last few months, everything is always rotten or moldy. The potatoes are tiny and soft. The peppers are wrinkly. I've gotten spinach that was decomposing. And all they do is offer you $5 to $10 off the next order, which I guess is fair in theory, but it's not worth the inconvenience to go to the store to get produce to finish the recipe when it's supposed to come with it. Someone else said, as with most things, people are far more likely to be vocal when they have a bad experience than when things go according to plan. You see a lot of complaints here because people are emotional when they feel wronged or disappointed. It's an overrepresentation of issues, which I don't really, okay, I agree with this to an extent. However, I think in today's modern world, a lot of people also provide positive feedback on things and positive reviews. I just went over a thread that talked about that. And the stuff that the original person in this thread said, yeah, I also experienced that. I know that it's kind of a spoiler for my portion of this video, my testimonial, I guess. But anyway, let's keep going. I've been doing HelloFresh on and off since 2018, a little over 100 boxes. I find the ingredient quality to be about the same, occasional issues here and there, and I keep things like onions, garlic, and tomatoes on hand, so if they give me a bad one, it's not an issue to swap it. But see, the thing is that shouldn't be a problem to begin with. So yeah, okay, you have onions, garlic, and tomatoes all the time, but tomatoes, first of all, at least for me, tomatoes go bad really fast. Garlic and onion, those are usually things that, yeah, you could keep those for a while, but you shouldn't have to. The whole idea of this delivery service is that they send everything to you. But anyway, portions are most definitely smaller this year. I used to not be able to finish mine of pretty much anything. We now buy 2 of the same kits for certain meals or add an extra side. If you are happy to get the recipes online and recreate, then that's always the slightly cheaper route, and you have the quality control over your own ingredients. I do think most people who use HelloFresh aren't doing it because it's cost effective, though. That's not necessarily the value of these services. Then this person said, I'm only on my 5th box and almost every order has had something bad in it. One meal was completely missing the ingredients and the bread was opened on that same order. Fishy smelling mushrooms, shallots with mold, garlic that wasn't even recognized at first, rotted peppers and zucchini. I don't think I'm getting emotional because I've been wronged. It's logical to cancel because the quality is horrible. For reference, these were shipped from Noonan, Georgia. Okay, so now I would like to introduce some of the reviews that are on the BBB. The thing is that the BBB, from what I've seen for the most part, usually has, for certain companies, it'll either have very limited amount of positive reviews or maybe no reviews at all, or sometimes they're bombarded with negative reviews. But the ones about HelloFresh on the BBB are all very recent and they're all very similar in their reviews. So let's go ahead and go over just a few of them. We're not going to go over all of them because if you scroll for a bit, there are 1 and 2 star reviews for pages and pages. You can just scroll and scroll and scroll and you're going to see 1 and 2 star reviews. So let's go ahead and go over that. This first one is from December 30th of 2023, and it says, horrible service. Got a discount code from my first delivery. Chose my delivery date and modified all my meals that came in my box. Box shows up a week before I asked for, with all different meals in it. Then I get charged even more for the box I was setting up when I thought I was setting up my first delivery. They totally scammed me. I called the same day I was charged and told them what was going on and asked for a refund on my box coming up since I did not want that box, and I am calling on the same day that I was charged. I was told there was nothing they could do. I then asked to get refunded for the original box I was sent since it was nothing I wanted, and that was also not an option. Absolutely ridiculous. What a scam. Never order from them clearly, since they do not care about customer satisfaction. The next 2 1-star reviews are also from December 30th of 2023. So this first one says, HelloFresh charged my credit card and I didn't order any boxes. They refused to cancel the order or refund my money. The next one says, free breakfast for life, my rear. Who wants to start a class action lawsuit against these jokers? The next one is also a 1-star review from December 26th of 2023. Very bad quality and they don't take no as an answer. I tried to return. They write on the box, do not return. I asked the credit card not to accept the charges anymore. I do not. These service is junk. So basically they're just saying that it's a terrible service. So if you keep scrolling, you'll see a lot of 1 and 2 star reviews. A lot of them are very similar. Some of them are a little more wordy because they go more in depth in their personal experience with it, which is totally understandable. But yeah, so I just wanted to go ahead and present those reviews from the BBB. And I don't think that I've seen that many 1 and 2 star reviews in a while during my duration of creating deep dives about unethical businesses. Well, in my opinion, unethical businesses, especially because they're all so recent. I'll let y'all see all of these reviews, good and bad, and make a decision for yourself. Remember how I said earlier that I actually did test out HelloFresh? Well, let's go ahead and get into my experience. Before we get started, I wanted to add a little tidbit of information here because I thought it was pretty ironic given that it happened while I was working on the script for this video. My husband and I did get something sent to us in the mail for 16 free kits from HelloFresh, and yeah, that's exactly what we had last time, but I just thought it was pretty ironic given that, yeah, I was writing the script for this video. But anyway, okay, I'm going to start this section off with, I have a bit of a mixed testimonial with HelloFresh, I guess you can say. Because I did have a discount code, I didn't feel as bad. But after the free 16 meals that we received, that was really it. We ordered the meal kits in January of 2021, so just keep this in mind that this is 3 years ago already. Many things could have also changed since then. In addition to that, I'll be showing pictures of the meals that we ordered on the screen as we go through this section. From what I remember, the free meals weren't all at once. It was spread out, so we still had to pay for a certain amount of our meals. For the company, that's a great thing because they're still getting some money out of this deal as opposed to giving all 16 free meals up front and people just not purchasing after that. Because as I just said, we stopped the service after our free meals. We still obviously had to pay for other meals, but as soon as that discount code and everything was done, that was it. We just really didn't feel that it was worth it. Half the time the ingredients were missing, so I had to check every single bag prior to cooking it to make sure that we had enough of the ingredients, or that we even had the ingredients to begin with. At first, we loved several different meals. They were delicious, and we were really excited about this service, especially I think they're called the firecracker meatballs. Oh my gosh, those were so good. But anyway, then all of a sudden, the meals started to, for lack of a better word, suck. There was nothing on the menu that really struck our fancy and nothing that we really wanted to eat, or it was just repeats of meals that we've already had before. Pretty much, in the end, we were kind of disappointed. The positive was I didn't have to think of dinners to make for the week, but a lot of them actually took longer than if I were making our own dinners and just spending the extra time to look up recipes and go grocery shopping. But basically, at the end of the day, the meal kits were great until they weren't. The meals became redundant, some ingredients weren't even showing up, and there was one time where a sauce somehow exploded in the bag and made the entire thing super soggy. I made it work, but it was just frustrating. Would I recommend HelloFresh? From my own experience, if you can get a discount, for example, the 16 free meals, and you can go ahead and pay for the other meals that you would have to pay for with that particular deal, then maybe, but for long-term use, I just wouldn't recommend it. Some other people might, but I wouldn't recommend it. We won't be trying it again. One of the big positives that I did have about HelloFresh is the fact that everything is pre-portioned, so I didn't have food that would end up going bad in the fridge because I only needed 1 carrot as opposed to a bag. I kind of used that example earlier in the video. But anyway, let's move on to the reason why I even wanted to make this video to begin with: the claims of employee mistreatment. This is going to be the part of the video where I do have to make another disclaimer. This is all alleged and not being presented as a fact. What I talk about in this portion of the video is just what I was able to find online. I'm not a journalist, nor do I present myself as such, or even present myself as some kind of an expert. I'm just a content creator talking about HelloFresh on my channel because I have some opinions about the alleged unethical practices. I know that these disclaimers being talked about throughout this video are kind of annoying, but I really want to cover my butt here. I will say that the sources that I pulled the information from for this section and also the previous sections really will be listed in the description box below. I do recommend reading through all of the articles because I'm not going to be discussing the entire article, just going to kind of go over certain parts in certain articles. According to The Guardian, they stated, quote, like Amazon and other businesses now facing union drives from unhappy workers, HelloFresh experienced record sales and profits during the panini. I'm saying that so that nothing happens to this video, it doesn't get demonetized or anything like that. But anyway, with the company's revenue more than doubling in 2020. As demand soared, workers have reported unsafe working conditions which contributed to workers deciding to organize to form a union, end quote. There are going to be a few examples of employees that talked about unionizing or things of that nature. So the first example is that of Evelyn Escobar. Evelyn at the time was a production worker at the California location. Now, keep in mind that at this location, the union Unite Here Local 2850 did file unfair labor practice charges against HelloFresh. Anyway, it's been alleged by Evelyn that 2 security guards had come up to her telling her to turn in her employee badge because she was supposedly handing out union flyers during the work hours at her place of work. But according to Evelyn, while she did hand out flyers, it was during her lunch break and it was outside of the facility. I wasn't able to find out if it was outside on the premises or not, but it still does say something that employees are trying to unionize. Another incident that Evelyn spoke about was, quote, one day I was running the production line and my team lead was yelling at me, telling me to do so many things at once I couldn't do, and while yelling at me called me and this is the words in the article, not my own, a Mexican shit, said Escobar. Again, I'm not saying that, it's in the article. She doesn't respect any of us. I heard her call someone else stupid. She yells at us. And so that's why the most important thing for me above all else is that we can win respect on the job. We work 8 hours a day and we don't feel happy going to work. So we're ready for a change, end quote. So yeah, I'd say that that's pretty effed up. But what's shocking in addition to all of this is HelloFresh spent thousands of dollars a day for consultants from a company called Culture Consulting. This was so that they could bring in union avoidance consultants so they could try to convince HelloFresh employees to vote against unionizing. If this is all true, because again, I'm not stating anything as a fact. I know, really annoying, but I have to cover my butt. But anyway, if it is true, this is really effed up for this company. Instead of maybe making conditions better for employees, they spend money on a company to come in and convince them to vote against unionizing. Maybe if you took care of your employees in the first place, they wouldn't feel a need to unionize. Let's go over a few other people's experiences working for this company. So the next one is Dennis Guzman, and I don't know if I'm going to say this name properly, so I'm so sorry, but Ayandra Hernandez. These two worked in the quality assurance department, and just like Evelyn, they were handing out union flyers outside during their lunch break, and then the managers came over and told them that they weren't allowed to do this. Well, later on that day, Dennis was demoted from quality assurance back to production. When Dennis asked why he was being demoted, they said, quote, the real reason is because I don't speak English well enough. I felt like they were trying to camouflage the demotion because I had been exercising my rights on my break, and I felt discriminated against when they told me that I wasn't good enough to be in a department because I didn't speak English, end quote. But I think most of us can come to the conclusion that Dennis most likely wasn't demoted for not being able to speak English up to their standard. I think we can all kind of agree that that's a BS reason. And even if that was the reason, it's an effed up reason regardless. Eventually, Ayandra, again, I'm so sorry if I'm saying your name incorrectly if you ever come across this video, but she found out about this demotion and she tried to talk to the managers about this, and they not only refused to answer, which from a corporate standpoint, there might be certain policies they have to abide by, and the reason for demoting someone could in fact be something that they cannot disclose. At my previous jobs, you weren't allowed to tell people why someone was demoted or let go or any decision making about another employee unless you were involved in this decision making process. So, for example, managers, supervisors, and HR. Of course, rumors would spark and some employees would tell people what happened, but it's most likely just because of the policies that they have. However, she didn't receive any type of response, and then a manager had told her that she was to clock out and go home without pay. This was 2 hours before her shift was over, and the manager even followed her out until she clocked out and left. I think that that's a bit extreme for just asking a question, unless if this was in response to her handing out union flyers. I think that if it really was against company policies to do this, and if they weren't allowed to hand out these flyers on the premises, maybe sitting them down and talking to them would have been a better route. In my opinion, this is just a tactic to silence these employees. It reminds me of fair gaming, which is a tactic known to be used by Scientology. If you know me and my channel, you know how I feel about that cult. Religion. Let's be real here. It's a cult. But according to the article that The Guardian wrote, they stated, quote, "A spokesperson for HelloFresh said in an email, HelloFresh believes that the decision of whether or not to be represented by a union is an important one, and we respect each employee's right to choose or refuse union membership. They did not provide information on how much the company is spending on union avoidance consultants," end quote. So in my opinion, that's just a PR doing damage control type of a response. I'm not done yet though. There's more when it comes to employee mistreatment claims. One thing that I found so incredibly upsetting was that some of the claims stated that the company forces warehouse workers to stay on the assembly line even if they are injured, and even though some of those injuries come from the unsafe work environment. One employee's foot was crushed by a 300-pound pallet, and even more employees have had broken arms or legs. Employees are also timed when they go to the bathroom. One article stated that they would only be allowed 10 minutes to use the bathroom. It's been said that employees can't even afford the boxes that they package with their wages. How horrible is that? These people are allegedly getting injured and being mistreated, also having intimidation tactics used on them because they want to unionize, but they don't make enough to be able to afford one of the boxes. There was a press release from Unite Now that was released on November 16th of 2021. I will leave that link below because it kind of goes over more of this in depth. Now, I know that BuzzFeed is not a great source, but I am going to talk about their article that is titled, HelloFresh workers voted against unionizing despite high injury rates, low wages, and a COVID outbreak. The panini has lent momentum to the labor movement, but union losses at HelloFresh food packing warehouses reveal the challenges of convincing some workers that the fight is worth the risks. There's this one portion of this article that says, quote, "If we applied for the union, they're going to take our extra money," HelloFresh employee Candy Hatcher said, referring to the dues employees would pay if the union won. "I have bills, I have rent, and everything." With that said, I would say that that is kind of upsetting that they weren't able to unionize and that they did vote against it, but I can see where they were coming from. However, maybe this will in turn kind of open up HelloFresh's eyes, and maybe they would push for better treatment of their employees, but I guess time will tell. But another name that you may know is PETA. So let's go ahead and go over HelloFresh and PETA. Okay, so side note, I didn't realize how loud my pup was snoring, so I have to completely re-record this portion of the video. So if you heard it within the last few minutes, I do greatly apologize, but I figured a good spot to kind of start off again would be this section. But here is where we move on to a part of the video that I really didn't expect to talk about because I've never heard about this before. Before I get into this section, I do have to say that I completely despise PETA. In my opinion, they're a bunch of hypocrites, and there are plenty of videos and articles out there that you can look into this a little bit more. Something that really made me laugh was years ago, I got blocked by PETA because I commented on one of their ridiculous posts on, I think it was Facebook, and they decided to block me. I was very proud of that. But yeah, let's get into what PETA has to do with HelloFresh. Because I could sit here and talk about how much I don't like PETA for a very long time. The article that sparked this portion of the video was written in March of 2023, so it was only about almost a year ago at this point. Well, at that time, HelloFresh announced that they would stop using coconut milk from Thailand. This was after PETA started talking about there being forced monkey labor in the coconut industry within Thailand. Walmart, Costco, and some more American retailers have actually stopped sales of, I don't know if I'm going to say this properly, but Choco coconut milk, which is a Thai brand. But HelloFresh is different, as they stated that they would stop using all of Thailand's coconut milk. Which, as an animal lover, if monkeys are being forced to climb trees for hours a day and they wouldn't normally do this in the wild, all just to get coconuts for human consumption, I do think that's inhumane and someone should put a stop to it. And as much as I hate PETA and think that they're BS, I will say that in this case, yeah, save the monkeys. But at the same time, one could also argue that dogs trained to work alongside police, for example, are also being forced to do so. But there are certain breeds that need more exercise and stability, so they, in a sense, I guess you can say, are working. There was a report made, and PETA stated that 2 of HelloFresh's suppliers in Thailand did use monkey labor. But according to the New York Times article, they were unable to confirm details of PETA's investigations. Wow. Big shocker there. And that sarcasm is towards PETA's independent investigations not being able to be confirmed, not the New York Times article. There was another nonprofit that takes in wild animals found in captivity, and they stated that Thai farmers keep a total of 4,000 to 5,000 monkeys. According to the New York Times, they spoke with Edwin Week, who is the founder of Wildlife Friends Foundation Thailand, and it stated, quote, Mr. Weeks said about 2/3 of those monkeys were used for labor. But he added the overall number of captive monkeys in the country had fallen in recent years, now about 1/3 of what it was just 3 years ago. He estimated that less than 1% of the country's coconut harvest is produced using monkey labor. While he said he did not condone monkey labor, he felt that PETA's characterization of conditions on Thai coconut farms made them appear more cruel than they are in reality. In most cases, he said monkeys live with the farmers they work with and are treated as pets, end quote. The most mind-blowing part is that because of PETA accusing coconut brands from Thailand using forced monkey labor, more than 25,000 retailers in the US and Europe have actually stopped selling it. PETA's alternative is to purchase anything being made from or with coconuts outside of Thailand. They specifically stated that the Dominican Republic, India, Indonesia, the Philippines, and Vietnam were better places to purchase from. Because of all of this noise that PETA made, the Thai embassy stated that it was going to start a program called Monkey Free Plus. This initiative is to certify coconut farms for food safety and to make sure monkeys aren't used for harvesting. In my opinion, though, if there is any kind of animal being harmed or exploited or forced to do something, then yeah, I do have a big, huge problem with that. The other day, I was talking to my husband about a professor that I had in college. I actually took his class for my undergrad and graduate degree. He taught business ethics. On the first day of class, he said something that has stuck with me through all of these years, and this isn't a full-blown quote, but this is along the lines of what I remember him saying. But he said that the one thing I'm going to tell you, meaning the class, is that when it comes to being ethical in business, you either have morals or you don't. You're either greedy or you stay humble throughout your success. And I always hear him saying that whenever I research unethical companies or unethical practices. He was actually one of my favorite professors. I say all of this to kind of paint a picture on my opinion when it comes to unethical businesses or unethical business practices. I personally didn't really have a good opinion about HelloFresh after using it. It was more of a mixed opinion, or I guess you can also kind of classify it as an indifferent opinion, but I wouldn't really recommend HelloFresh just because of my own personal experience, and I wouldn't recommend it even more given what I discussed today. Anyway, that's all that I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching, and this is Monica reporting to you live from a highway. Bye!